Good afternoon. Good afternoon and welcome everyone. My name is Neil Unruh. I'm your president and welcome to the Bradenton Kiwanis Club. Thank you for being here. A special welcome to all our guests. We'll introduce you a little later. At this time, Ed Nicholas, could you please give us our invocation?
Good afternoon. Please bow your heads. In the words of Helen Keller, the best and most beautiful things in the world cannot be seen or even touched. They must be felt with the heart. Dear Lord, help this club always continue to impact things that can only be felt with the heart. Please help us to continue to impact this community in positive ways by helping those in need. Bless this food to the nourishment of our bodies. Bless our speaker and the amazing things that they do out at Mote. We ask all this in Christ's name. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we're going to do an a cappella version apparently. So we'll start. My country 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside, let freedom ring. Okay, you may be seated. All right, we're going to go through some announcements and other items first. If I could have Brooke come up. Come on up. Brooke Corbett will give us a little bit on a Career and Tech Day at Palmetto High.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys for having me so much. I am one of the 2 college and career advisors at Palmetto High School. And we are, for the first time ever, going to host a Career and Technical Education Highlight Night. And this is specifically for the stakeholders in the community. We want to try to get our local community involved in what's happening in our CTE classrooms. We have biomedical, agriculture, engineering, business in our programs, and we want to be in touch with what's happening in our local community. So we are, to satisfy the Perkins Grant, we are forming advisory councils for these committees. But before we ask people to be on them, we want you to come see the neat things our teachers and students are doing, but then also give us advice to how we can continue to enhance those programs. So if you're available on November 2nd, or you know somebody that is, and again, this is specifically for business owners, stakeholders in the community to come and just support Palmetto High School and what we're trying to do to invest in our students and ultimately our community. And so I would just like to formally invite you guys on November 2nd. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. And then I also want to say a heartfelt thank you to this club. I got my car stolen last week, and I'm also the high school basketball coach. And unbeknownst to me, when I was going to find my recovered car, I came back to school, and there was a $700 check from you guys because our basketball uniforms and equipment were in my car. So thank you guys so much. That's a side note. But that's all from me. So thank you very much, and I hope to see all of you on November 2nd. 6 to 8 p.m. at Palmetto High School. So, thank you. In the media center.
All right. Coming up this Saturday, we have a division council meeting. That is where we will be electing the next lieutenant governor. Crystal is it for this year, but we're already electing one for next year. There is a sign up on Portal Buzz. We have the ability to have 3 votes as well as any past lieutenant governors. It's important to us because we have our club satellite member, Ken Christie, is running for this position for the next year. So want to make sure that we get at least our 3 people there at the meeting Saturday. It's at SCF, and there has been a message sent out by Mac, I believe, on that. Is that correct?
In building 27, the math and science building, and it's parking in lot C on the northeast corner.
Okay. Ed, do you want to give a quick announcement on Key Leader?
Good afternoon. I just wanted to update you that because of hurricane damage to Camp Flying Eagle and Dream Oaks, we've had to postpone the Key Leader program. As you know, the Key Leader program is to bring a diverse group of high school students together and give them some leadership training and some core-based values training. It's going to be an amazing event. I appreciate those of you that are willing to step up and help us out. It was going to be in November, but we're going to have to postpone it to the spring, so I'll keep you posted. Thanks.
Thank you, Ed. Mike Bear with any community service opportunities.
Thank you, Neil. Wayne was next to me at the lunch table today and said, "So, Mike, what do we have coming up? What can I do?" Well, we're ready to roll up our sleeves a little bit. Come November, December, we are going to be busy out there. We've got the Habitat for Humanity coming up. Opportunity. We need 8 more volunteers Saturday morning on November 12th. And then followed by November 25th, we start the Christmas tree sales for Boys and Girls Clubs. Right, Don? So we've got a few days that there's plenty of opportunities to do that, from helping people pick out Christmas trees. It's a lot of fun every year. I've been doing that for a while. And then bell ringing is going to be coming up with Salvation Army. But that's coming up primarily in December, so we'll skip that for now.
All right, at this time we need to recognize some members. So if I'll have my membership chair, Sharon Barhorst, please come forward and let's do some recognitions.
Of course, I need my trusty co-chair. Can you hear me okay? All right, I've got some exciting news. You know, we ended our fiscal year at the end of September. We started the year October 1st last year with 155 members. We brought in 36 new members to this club. We had, unfortunately, resignations and terminations of 14, and then the saddest of all is one death with Larry Smith. So we did end the fiscal year with 176, which is a 10% increase, which is amazing. So that was our goal. Thank you to everyone, especially my membership committee. I do want my membership committee to stand up, and I want my co-chair to help me with this. We're going to pass out badges for the new members for August and September. So if you're here, please step forward and get your new member badge. First one is Josh Kramer. Next one is American Red Cross. YMCA. I know Paula's here. Paula Wright from Bradenton Magazine, come on up. Then we have Sue Sweat, who just wants to stand up. She was the greeter today. And then we have Brenda. She's a corporate member. She represents Avenue 941. If you could come up. Then we have Carl King. Come on up, Carl. And then Bill Kakalis, I found your badge. So Bill joined so early that we misplaced his badge. I know he's here. So I did find it. There he is. Again, I just want to say thank you so much to everybody. It's exciting to have so many new quality new members. We're trying a variety of new marketing techniques from Facebook. We have 3 Facebooks, so please go out there and like us on both the club satellite, the regular club, and also the foundation. So try to help us out with that. All right, and then we did Bradenton Magazine. We have an ad in there. We joined Lakewood Ranch Business Alliance. So if there's any member that wants to help out on, spreading the word about Bradenton, Kiwanis. Please see myself or Jack about that. And then special thanks to Judge Nicholas, who did his chamber letter. So that helped us get more new members in. And then we're going to have a check-in committee that Jack has agreed to chair. We want to streamline it. As you see, we have more and more people coming and attending our meetings, so we want to make the experience a positive one. So we're going to work on check-in committee. Jack's going to be on it. Bob Kahns volunteered. Let's see, who? Lou Unger, who's always involved in check-in. But if there's anybody else that wants to help with check-in or just has some feedback, please see Jack on that. So we appreciate that. And then the other thing, I want to thank you all. We have a foundation PowerPoint that runs at every meeting, and we sort of reset the timer because it's the beginning of our new fiscal year. But again, I want to thank all the people that donated to the foundation this year. We raised over $33,000 among club members in our giving challenge, so that's double what we did before. Thank you. Thank you to all.
All right, we're going to give you about 5 more minutes for socialization, and then we'll be back for the guests and the program.
If I could have your attention, we're going to get started. First, if we could have Mac Aldridge come up and introduce our guest.
And good afternoon, Bradenton, Kiwanis, and guests. We are so glad that you could make it here today. We are always looking forward to seeing new faces, and we even like the old ones once in a while, too, so that's a good thing. Otherwise, we'd be really bored. But anyway, we do have a number of guests today, and I want to give them a warm Kiwanis welcome whenever you see them around. We're going to start with one of our folks here from Mote, Lauren Huey. Where is Lauren? Here's Lauren. And I think you've already met from Palmetto Career Tech, Brooke Corbett. But go ahead and say hi again anyway. And from the frozen north of Michigan, Kalamazoo, our official, unofficial member, Tom Fox. We also have our illustrious Bradenton Police Department Chief with us today, Miss Bevins. And from Emergency Services, I think, Ben Rigney? Which one? West Manatee, sorry, West Manatee. I can't help it. I taught with his mother, not wife, mother a long time ago. And he was going to school over at King so that's how long I've been around. We also have with us from the city a couple of folks that are visiting with us, Miss Marianne Barnaby. And our speaker for next week, Mr. Rob Perry. Today also started our first of the monthly backstage tours for the theater, and if you haven't had a chance to take advantage of that, please make sure you sign up and do it for next month. But we had some folks that took advantage of that today, and I hope they got a lot out of it. We have with us Kevin Powell. Where's Kevin? There's Kevin. Roger Clark. Bernice Dubrow. Bernice, is that right? And Faye Groves. Look at there, they got them all sitting together. That makes it easy. And Leo Skyer. And just a reminder to our normal members, our regular members, I have been asked to let you know that the box with the little name tags has been re-alphabetized. Miss Rita would love for you to put them back where they belong. Thank you very much.
All right, now, I know all of you remember 2 weeks ago when I talked about the president for 2005, 2006. So we're going to have a little trivia. And so I'm not going to tell you who that was because I know you remember, but I need to know her family had a business in Palmetto. What was the name of that business? Okay, so Question number 2, where did she go to undergraduate school? We're not doing too good. Yes, Dave? No. No, okay. I better come up with a different question. Who remembers the name of the president 2005, 2006? All right, come on up, Mac. Gift certificate to Popey's Restaurant.
Thank you.
All right. Appalachia State. Gay's Dairy. Everybody remembers Jack Gay. I know Judge Dees does. Jack Gay was a great guy and a Kiwanis and a Palmetto. All right, Mac, you ready? This week we're talking about 2006 and 2007. And by 2006, the Bradenton Kiwanis Club had been holding its weekly luncheon meetings in Kiwanis Hall for a long time. It was a landmark in Manatee County for many residents, but especially the members of the club. There were still members who remember when Kiwanis Hall was dedicated on December 13, 1953. Memories were made at the hall, and the club renovated it later with a grand entrance on 14th Street. And we're going to talk more about this a little later today, and we're going to be talking about it for several weeks. Now, even now, if you go online and you search the address where Kiwanis Hall on 14th Street is, the map that comes up has it listed as Kiwanis Hall. We were there so long, it's still listed that way. So on October 2nd, 2006, Dr. James Bryan Murphy was sworn in as the 2006-2007 president of the club. And an established optometrist, he had many challenges regarding the future of the club. Now, Bryan was born November 2nd, 1944 in Oxnard, California, to John and Jean Murphy. The family relocated to Sarasota, and he graduated from Riverview High School. Then he went off to FSU, to Florida State University, and graduated and enlisted in the Army after that. After he was discharged, he returned to Sarasota, and he started teaching math and science at Venice High School. But he decided he wanted to return to school to become an optometrist. So he moved to Columbus, Ohio, and enrolled in the College of Optometry at Ohio State University. And while he was working on his doctorate, he met his wife, Chris, there, and they were married 6 months later. They had 2 daughters, Tara and Molly. And after graduating from school, he returned to the Sarasota-Bradenton area, but this time in Bradenton, and he joined the Eye Center in 1977, where he practiced for 34 years as a well-respected doctor and community leader. Now, when Dr. Murphy became president of the club, he'd already been dealing with a lot of topics which dominated board meetings and had been percolating for some time. The future of Kiwanis Hall was a big topic, and as it aged, it needed continuance, maintenance, and renovations, and the expenses were excessive. And the neighborhood hadn't gotten any better either, except for the Tropical Palms Trailer Park, which had purchased the park, as you recall, and the Westminster Manor. The area continued to deteriorate. So the discussion on what happened at the Kiwanis Hall was something that was talked about a lot. And there was an idea for a building to be built by this club called the Bradenton Kiwanis Human Services Center on 9th Street. But there were some other issues that he dealt with, and one of them was membership and also having good programs. Now, besides being president of the club, he was a devoted husband and father, and very involved in the community. I mean, he was super involved, and he was chairman of the Manatee County Chamber of Commerce. He was president of United Way, president of the West Coast Symphony, and he worked on so many different projects. He was seen all over town all the time volunteering. He made time for everyone in his life, But tragically, after many years of service to his nation and community, he tragically died on August 10th, 2011 at 66 years old. Now, in 2006, the club also supported the Anna Maria Island Community Center by donating $50,000 to its capital campaign. And the club did something interesting. They started sending the newsletter by email instead of snail mail. Big news. And then on October 31st, the club participated in Halloween Safe Kids Night in the 4th annual Crime Stoppers at the Bradenton City Center. What a great idea. And then on November 7th, that they had the patriotism celebration with General Neff talking about the importance of the American flag. And then on November 14th, Farm City Week, it was named to Otto Bundy was honored with that award. And in 2007, moving into the 2007, the Pittsburgh Pirates now could play at night. Big news for McKechnie Field, Mayor. And you probably remember that. And the Pirates renewed the lease with the city through 2038. And renovations were made when Bell's department store moved over to Tropicana's old offices on 13th Avenue East. So January 30th was a big day for the club, 2007. The club members voted to endorse the idea to sell Kiwanis Hall on 14th Street and use the money to build the new Kiwanis Hall, which I told you before was going to be the Bradenton Kiwanis Human Services Center. The Bradenton Herald and other papers congratulated the club, wrote editorials and different articles about it, but not so fast. Not everyone in the club was happy. In fact, some people were unhappy. So even though the vote passed, members continued to debate the issue. So on later in the year, Dr. Murphy presided over a meeting on July 24th when the main topic was what we're going to do about the Kiwanis Hall. So there was a lot of debates. Some of you may have been there. And a lot of the younger members appreciated the older members' feelings. However, the expenses were so excessive. In some quotes, the papers say $50,000 a year, that they thought it was a good idea to sell. But the kitchen had become non-functional because the equipment was so old, so they had a caterer bring in food for a long time. And then the meeting was adjourned without any resolution, and the debate would continue. And you're going to hear me talk about that in the next few weeks. In March 2007, the club holds its 4th annual 13th Avenue Book Fest. And then what's interesting is on May 13th, the Bradenton Herald publishes one of its history articles on the history of Bradenton, and always, and I'm saying always because you've heard me say this, always includes this club as part of the history of this community. And it's in the timeline, and also the Tin Can Tourist was a big part of when they talk about the reason for the Bradenton Trailer Park. And so on May 25th, other events the club did is that they announced and they had a luncheon at the Bradenton Country Club where they announced the 2007 scholarship recipients. 16 students received approximately $350,000 over 4 years in scholarships. And the club also continued donating and funding the swimming lessons for children at the YMCA, and also gets recognized for partnering. So what happened in 2007 in August? We have a birthday party, and it's they celebrate the 85th anniversary of the club. And you'll see right there as Wisnet, and you'll see some of you that are here in the audience in that picture in the background. And they did presentations, sang happy birthday, and club goes on. So I'm going to see you in a few weeks. We're not next week we're going to talk about it, and then we're going to skip a little bit for Farm City Week and Veterans. But next week we're going to talk about 2007, 2008, and who remembers who the president was. Well, here's a hint. He represented me in a writ of replevin action in 1980, and before that and after that, he became my partner. So anyway, those are the hints you'll have. So at this time, Mike, you want to come up and introduce our program?
Before I introduce our guest speaker today, Dr. Michael Crosby with Mote Marine Laboratory, I'm pretty sure I get to introduce him because he remembers as a kid growing up just down the beach pretty much from from Midnight Pass. The original Mote Marine Laboratory was down there with a couple of shark tanks. So I used to go out in the water and I would find seahorses swimming around in the water down there off Siesta, and I'd sell it to Mote. I'd just walk down the beach, sell it to it for 25 cents, you know? So I've done business with Mote for many, many, many years. Even after that time, in Key Club here locally, we had one of our projects in high school was to move Mote from that location over to City Island where they are right now, or Island Park, right? City Island, thank you. But over there, anyway, I'm not going to go into a form. I'm going to shortchange Dr. Crosby today without a very formal introduction, as he certainly deserves. But I know he's got a lot of content, and there's only one person that can lead Mote to some of the future ideas that they have now, and that's Dr. Michael Crosby. Welcome.
That's pretty entrepreneurial, you know? Seahorses, 25 cents a piece at that time. That's a good price. Somebody was getting taken to the cleaner, and it wasn't you. We'll have to renegotiate those prices. But thank you all very much for allowing us to come back and give you an update on where Mote is going here in the community. And I do want to thank you all for everything that this club does. I talk a lot about how special Mote is. It's one of the most unique marine research organizations any place in the world. But the only reason that Mote exists is because it really evolved in one of the most spectacular, giving, caring communities in the world, and that's right here, and you all represent that. So why don't you give yourselves a round of applause for everything this club does and everything that you all do as well. Y'all are local, so I'm not gonna, waste a lot of time giving you the background history of how we got taken advantage by kids at 25 cents a seahorse. But most of you all recognize, when you think of Mote, you probably in your head think of this, because this is the City Island campus. And most people think of this because this is also where the Mote Aquarium is. And that's where most of the public has their first engagement or encounter or relationship with Mote, and then folks learn so much more about Mote. But whenever I talk about Mote, I always got to go back. In my mind, it's so important to know where you came from, because you build upon where you came from, and you want to keep the good things and learn from mistakes and then continue to grow. This lady here on the left of the screen, this is Dr. Jeannie Clark. And Jeannie was really the founder of Mote Marine Laboratory. Actually began in 1955 before we got to Siesta. And it was actually down in Cape Hayes. And Jeannie was much younger than this photo at the time, and she was going all around the world doing research. She was a young Japanese-American woman in a field in which there weren't too many women. And so she really broke a lot of glass ceilings in her day. And she would go over to the Middle East and do her shark research over there. And she had a little one-room shack of a lab that she literally rode a camel to get to from Eilat, down in Ras Mohammed, Sharm el-Sheikh, down at the tip of the Sinai Peninsula where the Gulf of Aqaba goes off the Red Sea. And her exploits were in National Geo, and she had books, Lady and the Shark Lady, all of these kinds of things. And Bill and Ann Vanderbilt were following Jeannie's exploits. And they loved Southwest Florida, and they had a place down south of here around Cape Hayes. And they contacted Jeannie, and they said, we'd love for you to come here and do your research here, and we'll build a little lab for you there. And that lab on the top right-hand corner is literally the one-room shack of a lab that the Vanderbilts built for Jeannie that got her here in 1955. And then that one on the bottom right are the shark tanks on Siesta Key. And if we could zoom in, I know we can't, but if you can zoom in on the far side, you see those three individuals on the other side of the tank there? That middle individual, I'm fairly sure is Mike. And he right there is doing his salesmanship with those little seahorses there, and he's doing good. But that's when Mr. Mote got involved with Mote, because he's another local boy. He was born up in the St. Pete, Tampa area. He grew up here, fishing, crabbing, going out on the water as a young man. Went off to the big city up north, made his fortune, came back later in life, and decided, and this is my favorite quote, which you probably can't read down there at the bottom from Mr. Mote, but he used to say, we've taken from the sea for so long, it's time to give back. And he wanted to give back. And again, that is a strong character trait of this entire community. The people here want to give back. All of you all give back to the community. And so he was going to start a fisheries lab. And he met Jeannie because he wanted to talk to Jeannie. He heard about her lab, and he's told her, I don't want to cross wires with you all, so let's talk about how we can coordinate. And Jeannie said, well, I'll do you one better. Why don't you just take over the lab? And he said, I'll do that, and I'll move it to Siesta Key. And that's what he did, and that's how we got to Siesta Key. So that is, some people ask me, what does Mote stand for? Mote stands for Bill Mote. Somebody that was just like you all, wanted to give back to the community. And from there, we've grown. When you think about it, in 1955, the staff of Mote was one scientist, young lady, Dr. Jeannie Clark, one volunteer, Burl Chadwick, who was a local shark fisherman, because, little story, Jeannie didn't know how to catch sharks. So she had a local fisherman help her get her sharks. And then the support, the philanthropic support from the community. So I always like to say there are three foundational pillars of Mote: passion, partnership, philanthropy. Passion for what you're doing, your mission, your science, giving back to the community. Partnership in the community, because as an independent organization, you can't do it all yourself. You have to have good partners. And philanthropy is the fuel for the innovation of everything that Mote has done through the years. There's no guaranteed funding for Mote, none. There's no tenure at Mote. There's no contracts at Mote. Yet we have grown from that one individual to now have over 260 staff, over 40 different PhD level researchers, and conducting research literally all around the world. And our vision for the future is that Mote needs to continue to grow our research and our STEM education, our science education and outreach, because there are so many challenges that our oceans and our coastal environments are facing in terms of long-term sustainable use and conservation, that we need that innovation in science to come up with the solutions for many of the problems, whether it's harmful algal blooms and red tide, whether it is the decline in the wild fisheries. We 10 years ago, we far exceeded the maximum sustainable yield of wild fisheries in the world, and we're continuing to harvest them. How do you deal with that? How do you develop sustainable aquaculture and transfer that out to our farmers so that we can grow a whole new business, a whole new economy that is built on sustainable, environmentally friendly aquaculture on land and in the sea? When you think of coral reefs, the rainforests of the sea that are going extinct right before our eyes. I was born in Florida. I'm one of the lucky few of my age, I suppose. Well, there's a few in the room, I'm sure. Lived in Key West when I was a little boy. And my father, on his deathbed, we held hands, and he was smiling and telling me just how beautiful those coral reefs used to be when I was a little boy in Key West. They were 60% living coral cover in the Florida Keys, third largest barrier reef in the world. 60% living coral cover when I was just a little guy. They are now at 2 to 5% living coral cover. They are so sparse now, they cannot recover on their own. They can't. And so how can science develop the tools, the technologies to restore them? And we have done that. We've used innovative science that has been funded initially primarily by the seeds of philanthropy, because so much of what we say we're doing is outrageous to the established science community. And when you're fighting an established paradigm of science and you put in a proposal to NSF, and the review panel is composed of the very people that established the paradigm that you're challenging, you don't get funded. And I sort of know what I'm talking about because I used to be the executive director of the National Science Board that oversaw NSF. I sat on those panels. I know how this works. And so to challenge these things, you've got to actually show you can do them almost before you get the grant to do them, and that's where philanthropy comes in again. So we have got to grow our research enterprise. And the way that we grow our research enterprise, and we have already started growing quite a bit. When you think about, most people think of that one City Island campus. We actually have 8 campuses. We just opened a brand new one. We've got 5 campuses down in the Florida Keys. We opened a brand new one in Key Largo 2 months ago, Coral Nursery in Key Largo. And the 8th one is under construction right now. And the reason that we need to continue to grow, and the reason that we are growing this new 8th campus right now, is to move that aquarium off of City Island. City Island is one of the best locations I've ever seen in my career, anywhere in the world, for a marine research facility. It's one of the worst in the world to have hundreds of thousands of tourists and local folks trying to get across that bridge or down the island, especially during season. It's a horrible place for a major science education facility. So if we take our aquarium from City Island, give it a rebirth someplace else, then I've got the space to add another 60,000 square feet of research infrastructure on City Island and create a whole new wing of derived products from the sea so that we can expand our biomedical research program, our immunology research program, our microbiology program, include a medicinal chemistry laboratory, so that we can expand on the work that we're doing with a protein complex from the epigonal organ of bonnethead sharks that is showing significant inhibition for 15 different types of human cancer, while at the same time showing no significant impact on the healthy cells of the same patient. That is what we can do with innovative science, but we've got to grow that campus. And the way we're going to grow it is by creating this, giving a rebirth of our informal science education center, our aquarium, as the new Mote Science Education Aquarium, or Mote C, SEA, Science Education Aquarium. And this is going to be a spectacular facility. And just like you were just describing the history of this club and the location you used to have and how much debate there was and research that you did about, well, where are you going to move? Where are you going to create a new? We studied for 5 years and looked at locations all up and down this coast, east of 75, west of 75, and we settled on Nathan Benderson Park because of its accessibility to a much broader cross-section of this entire region than can get out to Longboat Key or to City Island. So to orient you, and I'm sure most of you in the room are already very well oriented with this, University Parkway to the right, on the bottom of the slide, 95. And right there in that red square is where right now we are building the Mote C. And when I said accessibility, within 60-minute drive time of that location, there are 4 million residents, not tourists, residents. So you can drive to this site very easily, which is very important for our schools in this entire region as well. 52 million vehicles go past that site every year, and they're going to see that iconic building. That is going to be something, many of you probably have never been to the Eiffel Tower. Many of you have probably never been to the Sydney Opera House. But when you see a picture of either one of those, you know exactly where it is and you know what it is. This building is going to be the same thing. It is going to be an iconic, very visible gateway to our entire region here because of all of those cars that go by. We haven't shared this cross-section with many organizations, but I consider you all part of the family. So this is a cross-section of Mote C. It's an incredibly complex facility. Over 100,000 square feet, over 1 million gallons of seawater. The life support systems and the engineering, the construction engineering as well, is just mind-boggling here. It really, really is. First floor diagram, just take you through real quick. And up at the reason this is a science education building is every exhibit that we have in our current aquarium, Mr. Mote started the aquarium in 1980 because he wanted people to understand the importance of the science and the connections they have to the ocean. So every exhibit talks about the science that we do and how it relates directly to the individual that is looking at that exhibit, no matter where they're from. And everybody is connected to the ocean, everybody. Right now, you're breathing, right? You like to breathe. You need oxygen to breathe. 50 to 80% of the oxygen you're breathing right now comes from the ocean. It doesn't come from trees on land. So if you want to continue to breathe, you got to support Mote. Now, at the top of this slide here, this is the first floor plan. At the top, I just want you to pay attention to that green outdoor area and what's right underneath it. Those are 3 STEM teaching laboratories: science, technology, engineering, mathematics. Here's a blow-up of it. Each one of these 3 labs is being built specifically to accommodate K through 12 science classes of all of our regional schools. All of the regional schools. And each one of these labs connects back to research that Mote is doing. So one is focused on biomedical immunology, microbiology. Another is focused on marine ecology, aquaculture, coral restoration. And the third is focused on ocean technology, sensor development, robotics, artificial intelligence, machine learning. All of these things Mote does, and we want every child in every science class of every school in this region to have the opportunity for those experiential, hands-on learning opportunities. One of our scientists in there every day, one of our educators in there every day, and every school in the region can use this absolutely free of charge. All they have to do is sign up and say, I'd like to reserve this lab on such and such a day, and my class of 20 kids is going to come in, and we're going to have that experiential learning opportunity. And we're working very, very closely with the local schools, with the county schools here. These are not field trips. There'll be a lot of field trips, but these teaching labs are meant, we have dozens of specific lesson plans at every grade level, K through 12, for each of those 3 labs we have developed with the county school systems so that when those classes come in, the teacher can say, I can certify that this class has had that specific STEM experience that is required at that grade level. by standards. You can count on one hand the number of K-12 schools in our region that have state-of-the-art teaching laboratories. The overwhelming majority of our schools will never have this opportunity. So we are providing this to the schools, as I say, free of charge. The other thing is, we're going to have 70,000 students a year in those classes come in addition to all the field trips. But one of the things that we already do with our STEM teaching programs is we've learned that we need to go out into the community because everyone can't get to the current facility. And as part of that, we have also learned that there are unfortunately 24,000 Title I students in just Manatee and Sarasota County. And we know the importance of all students K through 12 to have that positive reinforcement when they get home for their education. And we also know that Title I students have a higher percentage of non-traditional family units, whether it's a grandmother or a grandfather that's taking care of the grandkids, or an aunt or an uncle or an older sibling. And it's really tough to be able to give that kind of positive reinforcement. And so what we have committed to do is every year, we will give each and every one of those Title I students, 24,000 students, we'll give each and every one of them a pass. And that is for that student to come back to Mote C, to experience the entirety of that informal science education aquarium, but not by themselves. They will be allowed with that pass to bring their entire family with them, free of charge. Because then that's positive reinforcement and helps to enhance the overall level of ocean literacy amongst us all. So that's our commitment on the education side. Now, if we go back again to the first floor plan, you'll see that little blue half moon there. That's the Gulf of Mexico tank, or the shark conservation area. And then the little stars or tables to the left is a multi-purpose room. Here's a blow-up of the Gulf of Mexico tank. It's going to be large enough for the Florida small-tooth sawfish to be able to swim in, because that's a research program to get them off the endangered species list, so we'll be talking about that there. A pretty awesome view that you'll see there of the Gulf of Mexico. That actually curves up over your head, and you can stand underneath it. And I've seen the pictures. They're actually building that right now. We've already paid for that, so it's being built right now. Also, the multi-purpose area. That has a view into that Gulf of Mexico tank as well, a spectacular area. And for size, it's about the size, I don't know how many of you have been to the Ritz Ballroom, but it's about the same size as the Ritz Ballroom. If you were doing a dinner function, you could seat over 500 people there. But for us, it's a multi-purpose room, so we'll be utilizing it for all kinds of things. Second floor, Gulf of Mexico tank, you can see down there. Upper top area, all handicap accessible because we do a lot of work with the combat wounded vets. Second floor, again, there's penguins, Indo-Pacific tank. There's our little penguins there, very smelly creatures. Top floor is where we're going to have a main terrace out there that you can see far and wide. Over 100 feet tall, and then the Florida exhibit, which is all outside on the roof. This will have our otters, it'll have our manatees, and this will give you a quick fly through so you get a feel for what it's like. So you go right through the front doors, and it's a little bland right now. There'll be much more exhibitry on these walls, but when you look to the right, those are all of the teaching labs. And our education programs are K through gray, so when the schools aren't using these classrooms, they will be used for adult classes, for continuing education classes. So we'll make use of this year-round, 7 days a week. Ocean Tech lab there. You get on the the escalator, and you go up to the top floor, third floor. Hang around to the left. And this is where, again, the Florida Hall is. So you go through those hermetically sealed doors there, and you're outside. So you got the otters, the manatees, other local animals, all outside. Get a little sun, hopefully very little rain. Then back into the main hall. And in addition to the teaching labs, we've got 4 STEM workforce training labs. When I heard the guests talking about the high school programs, this is something we'd like to get those high school kids in there to actually have hands-on experience in gaining laboratory and technology skills so that they are much better suited and competitive for the workforce as well. There's a board meeting room up there. Who knows? You know, maybe Kiwanis could hold a meeting up there. Who knows? And there's the finish tower off in the distance. And down to the second floor. Another STEM workforce training lab. Got an Indo-Pacific tank. Since we do quite a bit of work in the Middle East, I'll be there again next week. More of the workforce training labs. Top of the Gulf of Mexico tank here. And then down the stairs. So this would be the whole Gulf of Mexico gallery you go flying through. Hopefully you're taking your time. You're spending the entire day there. Touch tanks, all different exhibitry, and then on to the Gulf of Mexico tank. It's got to be very carefully constructed for a sawfish to be able to swim around with a long rostrum. We actually had to have turning radiuses of a minimum of 10 feet in all areas. And then, of course, as you leave, as you exit, we want you to go through the gift shop. And we want you not to move this fast through the gift shop. We want you to stay there. And now you've spent the whole day. You get to see the fireworks. And these are the pilings. This is from underneath. This is what's going on right now. 346 pilings are being drilled 80 to 90 feet deep, filled with concrete and rebar. Here's some interesting stats. The amount of dirt we had to put in the lake to make the pad would have filled a football field 70 feet deep. All of the concrete, you can see how many truckloads of concrete are going in there. And if you want to match the steel that we're putting in, it's about 2,600 manatees or 3,050 sea turtles, all added up in terms of weight. Here are our sponsors. County of Manatee's been a very good supporter for us, and again, because of the connection to the schools primarily. And this is what it's all about. This is why we're looking to build this. It's so every single child in this entire region has that opportunity, and that's why we call the campaign Oceans for All. And that's it, and I'm happy to talk about anything to do with Mote that you'd like to talk about for those that still have time. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Dr. Crosby. As much as we'd like to hear about this the rest of the afternoon, don't go away yet. We've got something for you. Get back up here. Just a moment. This is going to be my debut appearance. Let me see if they're under here someplace.
Yeah, seahorses, right.
On behalf of the Bradenton Kiwanis, you've done this before. On
golden rule.
behalf of the Bradenton Kiwanis and our mission to take care of the children of the world, which falls right in line with what Mote's looking to accomplish in the future, as well as right now, we'd like to present this golden ruler
Hey, thank you.
to measure your future success.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. All right, we'll get one over here.
Okay.
If there's, maybe we've got time for 2 questions? Are there a couple questions?
Only a foot.
Rob? Dr. Crosby? So 2 questions?
Sure,
2
yeah.
questions? Come on up, Rob.
It's a little over 130 million bucks. Yeah. And we've already spent, well, I was trying to keep it at 130, but as you might guess with price hikes and things like that, it's gone up a bit, but it's still right close to 130 million. We probably have spent around 25 million or so. 32. Michael keeps a closer eye on these things than I do.
That was pretty close.
Well, you know what? You know what, though? You're both, I'm right and you're right. It depends on what you're looking. If it's just the building itself, but there's a heck of a lot of soft money costs up front with the engineering, the architecture, the permitting fees.
One more question right here.
Yes?
I just wanted to know, when do you anticipate it finally all being done?
We will cut the ribbon and allow the public in, generally speaking. Our target is in December of 2024. But I expect you all to be in there before then. Because we'll have a little VIP session. We need you to walk through, test it out, see how it is, give us your feedback. So we'll invite special folks in, like y'all.
Thanks again, Dr. Crosby.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Meeting adjourned.